Y'all, I have colleagues and biz besties who are on very extreme ends of the AI, anti AI thought process and opinions and perspectives when it comes to writing copy. And so I have had biz besties who have sold offers, literally, that are positioned as like an anti AI offer. I have biz colleagues who are writing emails and like regularly sharing thoughts around getting back to using our brains and our fingers and typing our actual thoughts instead of letting AI write for us. And I have former clients and former students that I have coached who are running AI summits and who are teaching online business owners how to maximize their use of AI in their business for productivity and all kinds of other things. And I mean, the other day, I saw one of the students that I coached a couple of years back. Her, like, she shared in her stories that Reese Witherspoon follows her for AI advice. And I'm just like, obviously, I am in a network and a circle of folks that are on either end of the spectrum. That's a thing. And so when I see that those like two extremes, I think something that often gets missed is the people who are caught in the middle. And those coaches, course creators, service providers, people in online business education who have been trying for years to get some kind of output from AI that they can appreciate. That they can be like, okay, yes, I feel confident. I feel good about this. This is going to convert. And I know that is the quiet percentage of folks, but I do believe it's still a substantial percentage based on what I'm seeing the copywriters in my circle talk about. And so today I wanted to bring that silent majority to the fore and have this discussion because my hypothesis is that it is hard for those folks to get some kind of really substantial, really great output rather, that they can feel confident in and feel good about launching with, marketing with out of AI, because AI has a problem delineating between messaging strategy and copywriting. And the truth of the matter is, that's not really an AI problem, that's a human problem. We've kind of lumped these two skills together, and even individual copywriters have a hard time distinguishing between the actual copywriting, actually like stringing words together to form sentences, stringing sentences together to form paragraphs and a coherent email, sales page, landing page, etc. Like the actual implementation and doing of the thing, right? Like the words versus the strategy behind the words and the arc of perspectives and thought processes and aha moments and urgency, internal and external urgency, like all of that entire arc of strategy around what you say, when you say it, and how and why you say it. It's different from actually just writing the words. And the reason why I think it's different, and I've seen it be different, is because it's the same reason that a coach who wants to launch can go ahead and hire a copywriter, and the copywriter come back with copy that objectively another copywriter would look at and say, this is good copy. But when you look at that copy in the context of that coach's audience, what they're trying to do with this launch, the offer itself, the audience, like where the audience is actually at, and when all of those things are taken together, the person who has invested in the done for you copy support is kind of feeling like, yeah, nah, this is not going to do what I need it to do. And they're disappointed in the copy that they get back. Or they run with the copy, they do the launch, and they don't get the results they were looking for. Either it's the same exact like revenue numbers as if they had never invested in copy support, or they actually get back less revenue. And so I think that one of the reasons why this happens is this lack of delineation between these two skill sets that we have not adequately taken the time to dig into and explore and learn, particularly from the perspective of people who are trying to get better copy outputs from AI, or who are trying to get better copy outputs from their copywriters who they invest in support with. And so I have seen this happen over and over again, but I've also experienced this myself, because I ran my own kind of boutique agency with a very small team, very limited number of clients, because that's the style of like agency that I'm interested in. I want to go deep with a very small number of people. And so I ran that for like 12 months back in 2024, I believe it was. Yes, we are in 2026 now. So I ran an agency, my own agency, for 2024 for 12 months, and I was hiring copy help. I was getting people to support me in writing the copy for my clients. And I would very often find that when I got back the copy, like I look at their copy samples, they were great. They were good. They were solid copywriters. I had like no red flags, no kind of like, I don't think you know what you're doing. None of that. They were solid copywriters, great copywriters. And as a matter of fact, I've recommended several of them for other people, like other folks' work. So this is not to say that they're bad copywriters. But when I worked with them and I looked at the copy that I got back, I read it, and my first impressions were like, this is not going to do for my client what I want it to do. This is not going to do for my client's launch, for my client's audience, what we are trying to make it do. And this is not to say that Chelsea didn't give them the information that she thought they needed. Right? I told them what the general gist of what each email was going to be about. I told them that they had all of the sort of resources around like the offer itself, the sales page copy, the previous like sequences from previous launches that were written before, like the landing page copy for the launch event, like the client's voice and tone so that they could write in that. But for whatever reason, y'all, and actually it's not whatever reason, it's this lack of delineation that I'm talking about. I personally believe, and my hypothesis is, the fact that I didn't give them the overarching arc of ideas and what we were trying to accomplish when everything was taken together, like the 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 foot view. I did not give that to them. I just told them email by email, this is what we want. And so what I got back was less than what I had hoped for. And your girl ended up rewriting every single one of those emails that I paid for. I paid these copywriters thousands of dollars, because remember, they were writing launch sequences for me. So if you price a regular old like launch email, whether it's in pre-launch, it's promoting the launch event, or it's in doors open and you're selling, whatever kind of email it is, if you price that, let's say at bare minimum, which this is hella low, but at bare minimum, you price that at $200 to $250. That is a sequence of anywhere between 8 to 10K, right? And so I was paying money for these sequences, bro. And I ended up rewriting every single one of them. And again, not that the copywriters were bad. I just think I was missing this delineation. I just assumed that these copywriters knew how to do this. And I think that when we use AI, we often just assume that AI understands these things because we've shoved a bunch of documents at it, right? Like we've copy pasted our past email sequences. It should know our voice by now. It should, like, we've dropped in the sales page. It should figure out what to say and how to say it. Nope. It gets a lot more powerful, and I have seen the difference when you establish the overarching messaging arc of the entire launch. What each phase is going to be designed to do in terms of the goal of the messaging of that phase. And from there, how it sets up the next phase. Establishing things like that, being clear about those things, getting really granular with that kind of stuff when it comes to like your messaging, it changes the game. And so many of us do not realize that we need to get a better output from AI, or if you're going human, to get a better result from the copywriters that you decide to invest in. And as I said, I see it time and time again. These folks are not bad copywriters. As a matter of fact, they can point you to results that their copy has gotten. But their copy has probably gotten those results for those other folks because they maybe were writing for those folks for a hot dang minute. So they had an intuitive sense of the messaging and the arc of like thoughts and aha moments and urgency and all the things that the messaging was supposed to do. They had an intuitive sense of what that looked like. And there are some copywriters who intuitively have this ability to just capture the messaging strategy and drop the great copy, right? They just kind of soak it up, because quite frankly, I know a lot of copywriters, and how we write is intuitive a lot of the time. Not for everybody, right? This is not true of everyone, but for a lot of us, we kind of have developed this feeling in our gut when we read good copy, and sometimes we're not that great at telling you why it's good. we just kind of know it is, and our senses are proven correctly because people go off and launch with it and it creates results. And so some of us develop this gut sense and intuitiveness in terms of really understanding the arc of messaging of a launch of an evergreen funnel and leaning into that, and therefore writing copy that achieves the purpose that we are looking to achieve. Not all copywriters have that intuitive sense. And what I have found is that most don't. And so even when I hire folks, I find that I have to provide more than I think I should. Get more granular with the messaging, explain why we're doing what we're doing, the specific shifts in thought processes and perspectives that we are trying to create in the client's audience from stage to stage throughout the launch, and how that shift sets up the next shift, right? And how it all leads to ultimately the point where the client is ready to make a decision, or rather the prospect is ready to make a decision about whether or not this offer is for them. We have to kind of delineate these skill sets and do a lot more work if we're trying to create better outcomes from our AI and from the copywriters that we invest in. And I think it's really important to point out that the sort of responsibility to give this messaging strategy or ensure that there is an established and agreed upon messaging strategy is not just on the client that's hiring the copywriter, but it is also on the copywriter's end. So I am sharing this for all of the copy folks who might or may not listen to this video. Okay? Because the truth of the matter is that when a relationship between a copywriter and their client is not, it doesn't shake out well for whatever reason, usually because the deliverable wasn't as they expected, or they didn't get the result that they were looking for with that deliverable, or there's other issues going on, right? Like communication issues, etc. But speaking specifically around the deliverables issue, when there is that kind of breakdown, a lot of that happens because the messaging roadmap, the messaging arc, the sort of overarching sense of what we're saying when and why has not been established from the minute we start working together. And so when the copywriter is clear, when the client is clear, when everyone has agreed, when the approval is all said and done, the copywriter can go off and write from a place of confidence, from a place of, oh yeah, I'm really clear on what we're doing and why we're doing this. And I'm not just writing good copy, I'm writing copy that's actually going to convert and help this client's potential students and other clients to make a decision about whether this offer is for them or not. I'm writing copy that's actually going to do the job within the context, not just copy that is in general good copy, right? So bottom line, if we're thinking of avoiding disappointment, avoiding spending thousands and tens of thousands working with copywriters and then not getting the kind of copy that we want to get back, or we are in a situation where we get back the copy, we use it, we launch, and we get less than what we hoped for. Or we're trying to work with AI and AI has for years not given us what we're looking for. That disappointment, that sort of frustration, that situation that you can easily end up in where you start to tell yourself stories about how like hiring copywriters doesn't work for me. Hiring copywriters doesn't help me scale. Hiring a copywriter to help me with my messaging won't improve my launch. It feels like a waste of an investment. Like we have these stories that we end up telling ourselves the first time that we experience this sort of, this didn't go the way that I planned. We do the same thing with AI, right? Like AI won't work for me. These emails are not gonna work for me. No matter what I try, I can't get it to output. And listen, I'm not saying that you need to go continue to spend hours trying to make AI output what you want it to output. But if you're not going with AI, you are going with a human copywriter, or you're going to write it yourself. And you're going to run into the same kinds of issues if you don't do the delineation between messaging strategy and copywriting. Because you can have a template and you can write from that template and write a damn good email. But whether that email is actually going to lead people to a place where they can make a convicted decision about your offer, and not just any old people, but your specific people at the specific stage and scenario of life, health, business, relationships, whatever it is that they are at, it's not enough to just assume that a template will do what you need it to do. It's not enough to just assume that a copywriter is a good copywriter and has gotten results before, so they will automatically do the same again. Even if I don't give them like a messaging strategy, that needs to be outlined. As copywriters, we need to be the ones to step up and say, hey, do you have a messaging plan? Do you have an overarching strategy? Are you clear on what that looks like? And if you're not, that is included in my package, or it's included as an add-on, because I can't write without a messaging strategy. As people who are hiring copywriters, whether it's for done for you work or done with you work, even if you're working with a messaging strategist, right? You prioritize getting a messaging strategy from these folks that you're working with, because it leads and sets up everything else for success. If they're gonna be writing, they need a plan. You can't just write in a silo, right? They can't just write from templates. We've done that. We've lived through that era of online business. It's over. It's done. We are already clear that we're not doing that anymore. Yeah. So what that means then is that we have to be very, very specific and intentional about being the ones. If it has not entered the discussion, if it has not come up, I have to be the person to say, hey, my dear copywriter that I have paid and am about to pay, is a messaging strategy, is a messaging plan, is some kind of arc and establishing what we're saying, when we're saying, why and how we're saying it, is that a part of the plan? And if it's not, can we make it a part of the plan? And is that included in your deliverables? And if it's AI, we have to get even more granular and specific, because unfortunately, these neural networks are not biological yet. That yet is very ominous. These neural networks that run these large language models and like are just, we don't really know how they work, but they need more information. And when we give them better context, they are more efficiently able to output for us what we are looking for. And so if you are in a position where you have wrestled with trying to get AI to get you to where you want to go, and it's either not outputting something that you feel is feasible in terms of being able to send that to your list during a launch, or it is outputting something and you felt it was good and you took it and you didn't get the results that you were looking for from your launch, this is what's required. Same thing with human copywriters. You're going to have the same problem whether you decide to use AI or to use human workers, right? You're always going to have to be in a position where you have to delineate these roles. And so I have experienced personally the difference when I give AI more information. I'm like, damn, and bruh, I know that we can all relate. As long as you've used Claude or ChatGPT or any of them, we can all relate to the first time that we actually like got it to do something in a way less time and with way less energy than we have ever done that task. And the kind of, are you kidding me? Really? when ChatGPT first came out and we all were like writing social media posts and all the things, and it was just so much easier and faster. So of course we want it to work for us. There's nothing quite like getting AI to nail it for you. Right? Because it's the power you feel. There must be some kind of hormonal response in this, y'all. This is why we keep talking to these things that are not human as if they are. I should do a video about like a crash out. I low-key had a crash out, guys, because I was just like, I talk to this thing as if it's a real person. It's not a person. There feels like there's some psychological implications of that. I feel like that this seems like it should be a diagnosed condition. I don't know what to do with this. Like, I often find myself, and I'm going on a tangent now, and I'll bring it back in a moment. But I will talk to Claude and find myself feeling like I need to get validation from this tool that this is the direction that I should go in. Completely handing over my agency to this thing that is not a human being, right? It's not even a human being. And we don't hand over our agency to anybody besides Jesus, because he can do better with it than we can. But like, much less a machine? Bruh. There must be, like, I can imagine anthropologists years from now doing like studies on the human population and what we put ourselves through because of AI that we introduced in the wild. Just like, here you go. Anyways, tangent, coming back. What I am saying is, there is a real kind of productivity and efficiency and did I say productivity right? There's a real kind of like there's a real kind of momentum that you feel when you can get AI to get you the output that you need to get the results that you are looking for. That a big part of getting it to do that is delineating these two skill sets, right? And ensuring that you have given it enough of the messaging context, enough of the details that it needs to understand the entire arc of messaging of your whole launch, so that from there, when you assign it an email to write, it can understand, hey, this is how it fits in. And this is why we need to write it this way. And this is what we need to say. And this is what it needs to sound like. And this is how it leads people one step further into the decision that they're making about this offer. Same thing with human copywriters. It's the same kind of delineation that's necessary. And we have to be the ones to bring that up in the sales conversation, in the discovery call, whatever that looks like when you're first getting started, before you even pay. Say, hey, is this a part of the package, yes or no? And if it's not, what's the price tag? Because you can't write without this. Cool, y'all? So that's kind of what I have seen really work. And I hope that is helpful for you, because a lot of the times when people are disappointed by copy, I get it. It's a really heavy feeling. It's a really heavy feeling because we are in positions where we've spent all this money, we've waited all this time, and it's like, okay, but how do I use this? Or if you use it and you don't get the result you were looking for, it's like, okay, this investment didn't net me any return whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I'm at a loss now. So like, what do I do with this? Right? And the implications of that loss can be heavy, can be significant. And so I understand that disappointment can weigh really heavily on us when it comes to our launches and our evergreen funnels. And I think that we can avoid a lot of that weight if we do this delineation first before we even sit down to write anything. if we can get our copywriters to do this, the delineation first, if we can get AI to understand the messaging strategy, then we can set ourselves up for success. If you are hearing me talk and you're like, okay, Chelsea, I don't even know how to make a messaging strategy. What do I do? Where do I start? How do I make this work? If that is you, you can feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. We can talk about it. I'm happy to share thoughts, respond to your questions. If you want something that is a lot more tailored to your business, probably your upcoming launch or an evergreen funnel that you are working on, my consultation hour is available at 50% off between now and May 8th. So you can grab a spot there. The link is in the description. All right, y'all. I will see you in the next one.